guys, welcome to Amazing Top Channel. The beautiful continent of Africa is blessed with an abundance of natural resources, raw materials, precious metals, and fertile soil. With my background in finance, I thought I'd combine my love for travel and learning more about the world to showcase something little different. Today, we'll discover together the top 10 richest African countries in 2022. All figures are based on the latest annual report by the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and the World Bank using GDP current prices in US dollars. Let's go! The top 1 belongs to Nigeria. This West African country, with a population of over 200 million citizens, makes up an essential part of the African economy. With a GDP just over $510 billion, Nigeria holds the position of the richest country in Africa. The sizable GDP is mainly driven by finance, transport, infrastructure, tourism, and an abundance of crude oil. The country records around 1.6 million barrels of crude oil a day, according to OPEC, making it the largest exporter of crude oil in Africa. Top 2, Egypt. This ancient land in northern Africa held the spot of the richest country in Africa for many years. However, the economy suffered severely and foreign exchange reserves tumbled following the 2011 revolution during the Arab uprising. With the most recent GDP of more than $400 billion, Egypt now holds the second spot on this rich Africa list. The leading factors of the Egyptian economy include petroleum and natural gas exports, tourism, wholesale and retail trade, construction, and real estate. The state has diversified its economy away from just raw material exports in recent years, and over half of the GDP now comes from service-based employment. Top 3, South Africa. This southernmost country in Africa is another significant player on the continent as the third richest African country. With a highly developed economy, advanced infrastructure, and a GDP of over $400 billion, the country is considered one of the fastest developing countries in the world. The country has a good mix of mining, manufacturing, financial services, and tourism. It is also abundant in natural resources and raw material exports, the likes of gold, diamonds, platinum, coal, and iron ore. It is one of the world's largest exporters of these commodities, particularly gold and platinum. The country is world-renowned as a major tourist destination and places a lot of emphasis on tourism as a part of its economy. Top 4, Algeria. The largest country on the continent found in the north, Algeria comes in at 4th place on this list of wealthiest countries in Africa. Boasting a significant economy and available infrastructure and a GDP of over $190 billion, the county achieved a notable achievement of reducing poverty by 20% within the last 20 years. Crude oil reserves are abundant in this developing Saharan country, and the economy is heavily reliant on it. Other sectors that make up the Algerian economy include agriculture, industrial works, commercial services, and construction. The country is also one of the largest suppliers of ammonia in Africa. Top 5, Morocco. With a GDP of over $130 billion, Morocco comes in at number 5 on this list of richest countries in Africa. The economy of this country in North Africa is versatile and stable, experiencing growth in a number of industries over the last decade. It is the second richest non-oil producing African country. The country's economy is driven by mining and manufacturing. 30% of Morocco's GDP comes from industry, 15% from agriculture, and 55% from services. This is supplemented by a growing tourism sector, with locals being welcoming of tourists and the government placing a strong emphasis on attracting visitors to the country that is well known for its attractions. Top 6, Angola. The country of Angola has one of the biggest reserves of raw materials in Africa. Essentially, it could be higher up on this list of Africa's richest nations. However, due to resource mismanagement and internal corruption, the economy of the country has been negatively affected. With a GDP of over $124 billion, it comes in at number 6 on this list. Angola's economy is built on oil, with large reserves of natural gas and oil making up over 1/3 of its GDP. In fact, 90% of the nation's revenue in the export sector comes from the sale of crude oil. Other noteworthy exports include diamonds and cargo ships. Agriculture is also expected to become an important sector for the economy. Going forward, Top 7. Kenya. Kenya, a country in East Africa well known for its vast landscapes and wildlife, is next on Africa's richest country list, having a GDP of over $100 billion. This nation, with its stable living conditions, an established coffee and tea sector, and rapidly growing agricultural sector, is the wealthiest in Southeast and Central Africa. The Kenyan economy is not built around the oil sector like so many other countries on this list, but still experiences diverse positive growth. The industrial sector contributes almost 50% of the GDP. The agricultural sector contributes to 35% of the GDP, with the main products being coffee, tea, and maize. Fast growth was also experienced in the tourism, financial services, and technology industries. Top 8. Ethiopia. Found in the Horn of Africa, the landlocked country of Ethiopia, split by the Great Rift Valley, is the 8th richest country in Africa. With archaeological finds dating back over 3 million years, this ancient land is famous for being the place where the coffee bean first originated. The nation is the highest coffee and honey producer in Africa, making up a large portion of the country's foreign exchange. Other exports include legumes, oily seeds, and cut flowers. The GDP of more than $100 billion comprises agriculture, construction, manufacturing, tourism, food processing, resources, and energy. Agriculture is the region's most promising resource, making up over 40% of the GDP, 60% of exports, and more than 80% of total employment. Top 9. Tanzania. With a GDP of over $75 billion, Tanzania just makes this list of wealthiest countries on the African continent, coming in at number 9. Known as the home of some of the continent's most famous national parks, and of course Kilimanjaro, the country comprises a lower-middle mixed-income economy. The country's economy is largely based on agriculture, contributing almost 25% to GDP and employing half of the workforce. Industries are a growing component of the economy, which accounts for almost 30% of GDP and includes mining, manufacturing, construction, electricity and natural gas, and water supply. The main exports include gold, coffee, cashew nuts, and cotton. The last of the list top 10 wealthiest countries in Africa in 2022 belongs to Ghana. Rounding up this list of the top 10 richest African countries is Ghana, with a GDP just shy of $74 billion over the last year. Ghana, found in West Africa, has an economy that is both diverse and rich in resources. The country was the first in sub-Saharan Africa to break free from colonial rule, as well as the first to achieve the target of having extreme poverty. The nation has attracted foreign investment due to its overall positive business environment, experienced economic growth of just over 6% in the last 2 years. Services contributes to around 50% of the Ghanaian GDP and employ almost 30% of the workforce. Industry is the next biggest contributor to GDP at just under 25%, followed by agriculture. Ghana has an abundance of natural resources, helping to fuel an economic boom. Other major exports include cocoa beans, timber, and gold. So we explored together the list of top 10 the wealthiest African countries in 2022. If you have different opinions, let's comment to us discuss this subject. For now, like, share, and subscribe to the Amazing Top channel to support the channel. Thank you, and see you in the next videos.